Welcome to the Hope Natural Health Podcast. I'm Dr. Erin Ellis, your host. On this show, we discuss all things health, hormones, and happiness with a little side of this thing called life. Dr. Wendy O'Connor is a Stanford-trained positive psychologist and success coach for female entrepreneurs. She helps women design their most meaningful, intentional, and fulfilling lives and businesses. Utilizing her strengths, values, and evidence-based success method, Dr. Wendy has helped thousands of women worldwide live a life and business they're obsessed with. I'm excited for this conversation. I love designing my life, so I can't wait to hear what she has to say. Welcome to the show, Dr. Wendy.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yay! Well, before we dive into designing a life you love, tell me more about how you got into this.
So I've been a clinical psychologist for a number of years now, and I went through a period in my clinical practice where I felt like something shifted in me. I had 3 daughters under 2. I had my first daughter. 6 months later, got pregnant with twins, had 3 kiddos under 2, and everything changed, as you would imagine. And suddenly I went through this journey on my own, this internal journey of, it feels like there is a season of my work that is coming to a close, and there's something new brewing, but I don't yet know what it is. And I spent the first 8 or 9 years of my practice really helping people with depression and anxiety primarily. I felt like once I had my daughters, there was just so much of my energy going out and not a heck of a lot coming back in. And so I did some exploratory, curiosity-based work to say to myself, okay, you're not going to retire yet. Mm-hmm. So what's next for you? And that's how I happened across positive psychology. And I thought, oh my goodness, how fantastic is it that there's a science of happiness? There's a way that we've learned people will flourish if they do these things. So I started to implement these things to take myself from a place of surviving to thriving, and then decided this is exactly what I wanted to do with my clients. And I shifted from more of the clinical side to the coaching side. And now I help women thrive, specifically female entrepreneurs who really want to have success, but they want to do it in a very aligned, happy way.
Oh, I love that. Wow. 3 kids under 2. That's insane. That's a lot.
Yeah, it was. But it's
Busy.
one of those things, it's like you just do it because it's all you know. So people would always ask me, how do you do it? I don't know how you do it. And I would just say, well, you just do it because you have to figure it out as you go. Right. Nothing prepares you for it.
No. So what does it really mean to live a life by design, and how can someone start creating one?
The way you live a life by design is to live a life with intention. It really comes down to understanding and knowing yourself, and this is the first place that I go to with my clients. You may or may not be surprised to know that so many women do not feel connected to who they are. There's just so much of their life journey, their work journey, that comes down to just following the rules, following the directions, doing what they're told, and thinking it's going to land them in a place of fulfillment. But more often than not, we wake up one day and wonder what happened and why does life not feel the way I thought or hoped it would, doing all of what we call the right things. And so what I walk my clients through is creating by design a fulfilling, happy, and successful life using 3 tools. We use your values, what matters most to you. We use your strengths, which we look at as like the best parts of your personality. And third is your desires. And this is the piece where a lot of women too will be like, I don't know what I want, or I want to feel better than this, or I want to have my work life look different, or I want that balance that I was told I could have, but I'm not yet there. This is the work that we do together. Really designing this stitch by stitch from the fundamentals, the foundation of who you are.
Interesting. I love that. So you kind of answered it in the last question, but I'm sure there's some other obstacles. So what are some of the biggest obstacles you see that prevent women from creating or living a life by design?
Some women don't even realize that they have permission to live a life that way.
Yeah.
A lot of times, we talk about permission's a big word in my world because many times women don't realize there's an alternative experience available to them. They think that if they just keep doing the things they were told were the right way to live or the right way to build success or happiness, that should work. So they just need to do more or try harder. And the problem isn't that women aren't trying hard enough.
Yeah.
The problem is that we're actually just not hooking into what makes the
Mm-hmm.
difference and what actually gets people to fulfillment. So not knowing that it's available to them is obstacle one.
Yeah.
Fear is obstacle two. And it's always fear, right? It always comes back to fear. Whenever we want something that we don't have and we think about creating it, achieving it, developing it, creating it, it comes down to the fear. What if it doesn't work? What if I fail? What if it doesn't make me happy? I had a client once say, what if I do this and then I'm still not happy, or I'm still not where I thought I'd be, like the level of success I want or the level of fulfillment I want? What if I'm still not there? And the answer is, well, then you decide once you're there what that next level is. But there's all these iterations to who we are and who we get to be. There's all these levels to success. And so understanding that actually fear is a really normal, non-negotiable part of the journey. And when teaching women how to embrace the fear and how to use it effectively as a tool is a really big breakthrough for a lot of women. So it's the not knowing what's available and that they have permission to change their minds and do life differently. And it's the fear of it not working out or not doing what they think it should do if they take action.
Yeah. I say that with awareness is really the key to anything, and you don't know what you don't know, right? So as long as you are open to the idea and things are presented, to you, it's like, oh, I didn't know that was possible. So yeah, hopefully women, most of my audience is women, and that's who I help in the office. So hopefully people are like, oh, I had no idea that this could be a thing. So that's awesome.
That's
Yeah,
great.
I wanted to
Right.
ask,
It's like that's a big piece of it.
right? I think with anything, it's just awareness. Like we just go through life and the motions, and we just go through it, but we're oftentimes not aware of what even is going on. So I wanted to ask this kind of towards the end, but I think it might fit well here. Like, can you, since this is probably new, obviously, to a lot of women that didn't even know that this could be a thing, can you share a success story of someone that you've transformed their life and business through what you do? I think it would be fun to talk about, someone that's not open to, you just totally transform their life.
Yes. There's so many, honestly. Like whenever I get asked a question, I get so excited to think about everybody because in my role, you're really so focused on like, okay, what are we doing next and who are we serving next and what's the next move? But it's so nice to reflect on all the success stories from the past. So one particular client comes to mind. She was really nervous about investing in our work, which is really common. Women have oftentimes will have that fear around like, I'm going to make a big investment of time, energy, money, whatever it is. Like, is it going to work for me? Like, am I going to be the one it doesn't work for? So she had some nerves about it and she felt her way through it. She was like, nope, I'm doing this. And it was as soon as she made that decision to be all in that literally everything started to shift for her. She came in feeling really wobbly and uncertain in her mindset, had a lot of self-doubt, really held herself back, felt very much affected by and reactive to people in her world that like didn't get her, didn't understand her, didn't understand why she was built this way, why she wanted what she wanted, why she was going so big in her life or trying to go so big in her life. It was really this transformation of understanding that she was truly meant for more and she found a space to express that. And so she's still a current client of mine. She's incredible. But she turned into this person with incredible confidence, making huge, big, bold moves, starting a business. She's just like, every time fear like talks to me, I'm all in. Like I'm going all in. I'm going to do it anyway. Like fear's not going to have a hold over me, power over me anymore. And so now it's like this transformation from more overthinking, self-doubting, nervous energy to just such power. And when she found her voice and found her way to give herself permission to truly step into the confidence that she's always wanted, everything else has shifted in her life. Like the ripple effect of this work for her has just been so far reaching.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, the fear is, nobody likes fear, but fear, from what I've learned, is like a sign that you should do whatever it is. Do you agree with that? And do you find that in your practice as well?
I do. I think that a lot of times people look at fear and misinterpret it as a
Mm-hmm.
reason to step back, a reason to not move forward. And
Yeah.
the way that I look at fear, there's obviously going to be red flags here and there that you want to pay attention to, but most of the time, the fear that's speaking to you is actually indicating that you're onto something really freaking good.
Mm-hmm.
That this is the start of something pretty amazing. That's
Yep.
why you feel the fear.
Yeah, and that happened to me when I left my full-time job as working in a clinic when I wanted to start my own business. I was scared crapless. Like, oh my gosh, I'm going from a steady income that I had a great paycheck, you know, knew what was coming in to opening the doors and hoping people would show up to maybe no income. It was terrifying, but I knew that that's what I needed to do, and it's been the best decision. And so I've loved that fear can actually guide you, and it's not, like you said, obviously there's the red flags and things like that, but usually it's a sign that you should be doing the right thing or about to do the right thing. So I love that.
Yeah, you're about to do the next right thing for you.
Yeah.
Yes. Even if it's
Yeah.
scary, it doesn't mean it's not the right move.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about happiness and success. So what are some common misconceptions about happiness and success that you have encountered in your work?
Let's see. A common misconception about success is that you have to constantly be doing and going and producing for success to be achieved.
Mm-hmm.
And it's it's often one of the reasons people get nervous about, at least if we think about entrepreneurship or going off on our own, doing our own thing. People get really worried that I'm never going to get to unhook for my business. I'm never going to get
Mm-hmm.
to like relax. I'm never going to get to feel that flowy energy that I would be an entrepreneur for. And the
Mm-hmm.
reality is, if you design it properly, you're going to have more time and more energy and more joy and better results than if you didn't do it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you really get to have it all when you design your business and your life what I would call the proper way. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one misconception. It's like, I built my business so that I don't have calls the last week of every month. So I don't have calls on Mondays and Fridays, so that I only work when I want to, the way I want to,
Mm-hmm.
how I serve people is the way I choose to. The impact I make is because I want to do it this way. There's so much freedom and autonomy. And it's not about constantly doing and creating and producing and never stopping. It's really about, I take almost daily naps and baths and watch reality TV in the middle of the day, because that's success to me. The freedom to have a
Mm-hmm.
peace in my heart and to feel
Mm-hmm.
happy every day is success. So that's one common misconception. Another one is that people, what's a most common misconception about happiness? Probably that people are like supposed to be happy all the time. Like, as a positive psychologist, people will be like, "How are you happy all the time?" And I'm like, that's not it, actually. So it's not about being happy all the time. It's
Mm-hmm.
about knowing how to navigate the world, how to navigate challenges, how to lean into a positive, optimistic mindset, how to utilize and leverage your strengths and your values to make very easily alignable decisions. That's what it's about. So it's not about this like slap on a smile and everything's amazing and you're just naturally happy all the time.
Mm-hmm.
There are just the waves of all the emotions everyone experiences. They're all just part of the deal, but not thinking that you have to be happy all the time to
Mm-hmm.
be happy. It's not the way.
Right.
It's not the way. You have all the emotions and they're all important.
Yeah, and your hormones are going to affect that too. So it depends on, if you're a menstruating woman, like where you are in your menstrual cycle. Sometimes you're just sad, and that's okay. Embrace it. You don't need to be I'm not happy all the time. I don't think anybody's happy all the time. They might appear happy, but there's definitely, some days where they're probably not happy, and that's okay. I think emotions are good.
Right? That's okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So on the flip side, a lot of my women that come in to practice, women in general, I think, like to self-sabotage, and we have a lot of self-doubt. So how do you help women overcome that emotion? I guess we like to sabotage ourselves, and very, very much self-doubt, like, oh, I can't do that, I'm not good enough, or I don't have the strength to do this, etc.
I don't actually think we like to do it,
Well,
but
that's
I
true.
think that we are very, very focused on protecting ourselves. And I think it's
Yeah.
just another one of those like self-protective measures that our brain uses to keep us safe. And
Mhm.
so change feels scary because our brain sees it as threatening. And when we
Mhm.
look at change as being potentially a bumpy road or potentially ups and downs and all the things that come along with it, and it's not actually threatening, but it is
Mhm.
going to be a potentially challenging journey towards the destination that you want. When we are able to really see it that way, it makes it easier for us to unhook from the sabotage piece. The sabotage is just your brain trying to keep you safe. But when
Mhm.
we build awareness around our patterns, understanding our patterns, when do you tend to sabotage? When do you tend to feel or think about self doubtful thoughts? When do you tend to get knocked out of your power? When do you tend to quit? When we understand those patterns, it's much easier to use awareness to make a very
Mhm.
intentional, different plan moving forward. So, self doubt is one of those things that I've seen clients at every level of success, and self doubt can creep in and haunt people no matter how successful you actually are. Like, people will think that the CEOs of companies must be the most confident and the happiest and the most successful. And in reality, the same thoughts follow us to the top. And what
Mhm.
matters more than just thinking that successful people don't have self doubtful thoughts, it's really coming down to successful people just don't let those self doubtful thoughts make their decisions for them.
Yeah.
So in my world, it's really about focusing on taking action, choosing the actions, choosing the behaviors that move the needle forward in the direction of the life or in the business that you want. And it's
Mhm.
knowing that fear will come. Maybe a
Mhm.
desire or an urge to sabotage will like rear its head. Maybe a
Yeah.
thought about not being good enough is going to pop up. It's all completely normal. What really matters isn't that those thoughts exist, it's what you do with them
Mhm.
and what how much power you give over to them.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And yeah, like you said, we don't want to feel or do self doubt or sabotage. It's just something that women are just, it's just very common for us to do. We don't want to do it. Like I sat with a patient yesterday and she's on the trend of, she starts something and then something happens and then she feels like it's just her world's crumbling and then falls off the wagon and doesn't get back up. And I said, you know what? I said, that's life and that's okay. It's not that you ruined everything that you've done, your 3 walks or your week-long walks that you did. Like, just get back on your feet and start walking again. It's okay. You can start over. It doesn't mean that you failed. And I said, don't, give yourself grace and take one, just inch by inch, step by step, implement a new habit. And then it's just going to become part of your routine. And life's going to happen. If you miss a few days, you miss a few days. It's not the end of the world. So yeah, it's all about just working through that and knowing that, life, and I'm sure you see this in your clients every day, like I do. It's our life is crazy, especially for high performing women and moms. They're throwing curveballs all the time, especially probably for you with children and, owning your own business and creating the life. It's like, well, oh, kid's sick. I got to go pick him up from school. There goes my whole day. Right. So you have to learn and adjust because that's life.
That's right. There's a lot of pivoting. There's a lot of changing course. There's a lot of recalibration. Like that is the
Mm-hmm.
way it is. And if we just interpret like this has been one of those weeks for whatever reason that there have been so many curveballs. There have been so many unexpected shifts in a day. And I've been laughing about it because it's just to the point where it's just getting hilarious. Like, oh, what's the next thing going to
Right.
be? But it also is one of those things that allows you to really focus on gratitude for the moments that you can sit
Mm-hmm.
down and focus, that you can concentrate, that you can take action because you never know what's coming. So it's like I think about it as I personally like to front load my day. I like my productive part of the day to be when my energy is highest.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think I can not be interrupted by an unexpected curveball. So I really lean into starting my day with purpose, with intention, with
Mm-hmm.
productivity. That really serves me because when I get through the things that I want to get done and then a curveball comes, it's so much easier to
Mm-hmm.
pivot than it is if I were to design my day differently and then anything's possible and I'm using hope as my strategy that nothing gets in the way. It's
Yeah.
just much less stressful to design our days, really just time optimally, but also the ways that align with who we are, our energy levels, our
Mhm.
rhythm, our natural ways. Like that helps
Mhm.
us feel less affected by the curveballs because they're also inevitable.
Yeah. So true. So let's talk a little bit about what someone can do next. So what are some practical steps that a woman can take to align their business goals with their personal values?
So there's a couple of things I want to say here. One is every day wake up and ask yourself these three questions. This is like a very easy, very practical, very tangible way to start aligning your day with the way you want to feel. Ask yourself in the morning, first of all, how do I want to feel today? Pick an emotion. Do you want to feel happy, excited, full of zest, optimistic? Do you want to feel hopeful? Do you want to feel enthusiastic? Do you want to feel curious, creative today? Ask yourself to name one emotion. Then the next question is going to be, what is one thought that can actually help me cultivate this emotion? So if I was to know, as I'm sure your listeners know, the power of your mind and how the brain is going to influence what you think, how you feel, and what you do with your day. If the desire is to live in more alignment, we want to start to mind our minds. We want to start to shape our thoughts to support our goals. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to name an emotion that you want to feel. And then next, ask yourself, what's a thought that could help me kind of lock in that emotion, that could really help me generate that emotion? And then the third question is, what's one action I could take today? Like maybe right now as I start my day to feel this way today. So how do I want to feel? What's the thought that's going to support the way I want to feel emotionally today? And then third, what's one action I can take that gives me the best chance to feel that way today? So that's an easy way to align every day to the way that you want to feel. In the bigger scheme of things, the way we align your business goals and your business vision to your life values and your life vision is to design your business to reverse engineer it from the lifestyle that you really want to be living. A lot of times entrepreneurial women will come into my world and they'll just be like, I've tried this, I'm doing this, I'm grinding here, and it feels more like haphazard. It feels more
Mhm.
like I'm just trying everything just to get it to work. Instead of saying, all right, let's create a foundation for your business that literally allows you to live the life that you value, the
Mhm.
life that matters to you, the life that you dream of. Let's reverse engineer that actually so that it feels like a very intentional and deliberate process. And that's what I take my clients through in my programs.
Oh, I love that. So those three questions. How do I want to feel today? What is one thought that can actually help me cultivate that emotion? And what is one action that you can take today to feel that way? I love that. That's
Yes,
good. Those are good journal
that's
prompts.
right. Yes, they're great, and literally, some of your listeners may have already indulged in the gratitude practice, and maybe they make that part
Mhm.
of their daily experience. And that's what this is. It's like this daily questioning can be a very quick experience when you first
Mhm.
wake up. You're
Yeah.
waking up to the world, and I always tell my clients, like, we want to put oxygen masks first. We want to make sure we're really trying to create the energy that we want to feel today before we just go out into the world and are needed by everyone and
Mhm.
everything. So asking yourself these three questions every morning is such an easy way to just get yourself in alignment with who you want to be today and how you want to feel.
Right. Awesome. I love that. Well, Dr. Wendy, what did we miss that you wanted to touch a little bit more on that would be important for our listeners?
Let's recap for a second because I
Okay.
think that what feels most important are a couple things. One, you have permission to design your life the way you want to. If you're not happy with how your business or your life is going, change it. Two, the way to design your life is to be more intentional and self aware. Know who you are, know what your values are, know what your strengths are, name your desires, let them exist, even if it's just because you want it, that's a good enough reason. I see too many women try to talk themselves out of their dreams because they convince themselves they're not realistic or they're not meant for them or they're not possible. Let yourself dream into your next chapter because
Mhm.
that's where our creativity and our excitement for our lives really gets to be a big part of our design work. And a life by design is really about marrying these three pieces: what you want, what your strengths are, what your values are. If every day you wake up and just work to be aligned with what matters most, who you are at your best, and what you want today, you're going to be on the fast track to living your best life.
Wow, we got this, right, ladies? Awesome, Dr. Wendy. This has been fantastic. I want to wrap it up with one final question I ask all my podcast guests. What would be your best or favorite health tip that you can share with the audience?
My favorite health tip is that you can rewire your mind. It's really about understanding that the way that you may today be programmed to think, what you may be programmed to believe, what you may be programmed to buy into, and the stories in your mind are completely changeable. And thanks to neuroplasticity, thanks to us having the tools now to understand that rewiring our mind is something that's very not only possible, but easy when practiced regularly, that will set you up to feel so differently about your life and about yourself and what you're creating. So the power of your mind and in shaping it is my favorite health tip. It affects how you feel. It affects your energy, your mood, how you live your life, what you choose. All of it matters. And it all comes back to what your head's going to tell you to do and not do, and what's true and what's not true. So be very mindful of your mind.
Yeah, starts with that awareness, right? Awesome. Well, I really appreciate your time today. We will make sure to link Dr. Wendy's Instagram, Facebook, and website in the show notes. So give her a follow, check her out. If you want to work with her, I would assume you could find all that information on your website, correct?
Yes, and Instagram, I always hang out there, Dr. Wendy O'Connor. So definitely come say hi and introduce yourself.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Dr. Wendy, and we will see you all again next week. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment below. And if you haven't done so, please be sure to give us a rating on your favorite podcast platform. Join us weekly as we inspire you to be your best version. For more, follow me on Instagram at dr.erinellis. Until next week, you got this.